Today we're going to go over the E in the acronym S.P.E.M.S. Remember, S.P.E.M.S stands for spiritual, physical, emotional, mental, and social. These are the 5 health pillars that everybody needs, especially children and babies. Let's start with the definition of emotions. Emotions are described as the instinctual reaction or feeling with certain situations in the environment, or certain moods, or certain experiences. So if you think about a happy occasion like a birthday, or you think about a sad occasion like a funeral, or even something as simple as walking through the park and watching ducks, all of these can cause emotions. And these emotions are expressed in the body, usually with facial features. Just like these tools and toys that we use to teach kids about emotions, usually a smiley face is representing happy emotions, peaceful emotions, and a sad face is representing sad or stressful emotions. So what's the function of emotions? To me, emotions are very similar to the spiritual health pillar, because you can't really touch, measure, collect, put them in your pocket, buy them, or easily identify them. Emotions are a key element that make us human. They are kind of like the lighthouse or the signal house that share with others how we're feeling. They also are important in helping us to understand what's going on inside of our hearts and minds. Emotions come from the part of the brain called the limbic system. It's a collection of anatomies in the brain that serve the function of controlling long-term memory, your feelings, and even smell. I don't know how many of you have experienced a certain smell from your past which causes a certain emotion, or even if you remember something from a long time ago, if you think about it, it can also cause a certain emotion. Emotions are stimulated and activated by our environment. And that environment does include things that we can smell, things that we remember, but also things that we've experienced in the past. The chemical explanation for emotion is based on the hormones that circulate in our body. There are 2 basic categories of hormones: the happy hormones and the stressful hormones. Some examples of the happy hormones include dopamine, estrogen, oxytocin, and serotonin. These hormones place the body in a state of relaxation, peace, happiness, joy. And this is directly related to the function of the individual cells where they are doing construction. And what do I mean by construction? They are repairing, like if you have an injury or a little cut or a scratch. They also are removing toxins from the body. On the other hand, we have stress hormones. And 2 examples of stress hormones are cortisol and epinephrine. Epinephrine is also known as adrenaline. These hormones are very important for our survival and keeping us safe and letting us know when something's dangerous. But too much stress hormone can actually cause injury to our body. They increase the heart rate, they increase the blood pressure, they increase sugar circulating in your blood, and they also stop the cellular mechanisms of repair and construction. So if a bunch of cells are trying to heal a cut, or if it's trying to fight an infection in your body, or trying to destroy cancer cells, it'll stop doing that. People that have conditions such as autism are not able to recognize, process, or express their emotions as easily as other people are. So that's a very essential part of therapy when we are helping people with autism to develop skills and acquire tools for them to use emotions in a successful and acceptable way in society. There are a few things that we can do to help us get a better understanding and connection with our emotions. The first thing is we have to recognize our emotions. That's why these little tools, these little toys are so important, because someone with autism may not have the capacity to recognize a smile related to certain emotions and a frown related to certain emotions. So we can use this potato head and this pineapple head to share and explain and practice and develop games and scenarios where the children with the therapist can decide which face to put on depending on the situation. Another important part of recognizing when it comes to emotions is recognizing the situations, the scenario, the type of things that cause the emotion, such as things that are stressful versus things that are peaceful, things that are boring versus things that are exciting, things that make us fearful versus things that make us feel safe. So it's important to recognize the circumstances related to our emotions. And a big part of that is our memory, our experiences from the past. The first time you saw a spider, maybe when you were 2 years old, that caused a certain emotion. And if it didn't, you as a baby looked to your mom or to your dad to see how they reacted. And if they had a certain reaction, maybe screaming, maybe running away, or maybe trying to get close with a cup and a magnifying glass to study the spider, depending on the emotion, that emotion can be copied, and it might impact on how the child reacts to that certain situation in the future. Too much of the happy emotions or too much of the stressful emotions, either one can cause problems. An example of too much of the happy emotion is artificial stimulation with drugs, chemicals, and other addictions that release a large amount of dopamine in the brain. This can actually lead to problems not only with relationships and schoolwork and keeping your job and providing for your family, but also problems with your heart and your lungs, and eventually it could be fatal. What are some common practices so that our emotional health pillar can contribute to our overall health? The first thing we can do, make sure we either give or receive 7 hugs a day. The next thing is to share 3 emotions. And sharing is the human ability and the human skill of showing empathy. So, for example, during the day, I come across more than 3 emotions when I'm seeing clients. But the 3 that are most common are stress, fear, and happiness. So I share in those emotions. If I have a family or a client or a child I'm seeing and they are scared, I let them know that sometimes I get scared too, and I try to do things to make it less scary for them. Like getting my distance back, giving them one of these toys, lowering my voice. So I'm empathizing, I'm sharing the experience of that emotion, and I'm trying to make it better. Another thing to do to keep our emotions as part of our healthy formula is to document our emotions. That can be done by writing in a journal. It can be done with little stickers on a chart. It can also be done on your phone, just recording how you feel when certain things happen. This is important because this helps with our memory so that we can recognize which scenarios cause certain emotions, and we can recognize when we need to start taking steps to control our emotions, to redirect our emotions, or to substitute our emotions for other feelings that are more productive and more healthy for our body. We won't be able to do that if we're not used to sharing our emotions, if we're not used to recognizing our emotions, and we're not used to understanding the things that we can do to help those emotions fit nicely into our family, our classroom, our situation, our relationships. And now I want to do some exercise. When we do exercise, exercise also increases the relaxation hormones and it lowers the stress hormones. So let's go do some exercise now. Okay, do you guys want to come do exercise with me? Let's go.